underground locations or Raccoon City. I wonder if we'll see classic monsters infected with the T-virus return as well. Considering that Raccoon City is in ruins, but not completely wiped out, I feel like it's possible that some of the monsters in the city, especially ones that were underground in labs or somewhere else within the city, survived the destruction of the city. For example, how badass would it be to see apocalyptic versions of classic Resident Evil monsters, like the Lickers and the Hunters? And since there's already something similar to Crimson Heads confirmed with the Elpis virus, I wonder if we could see traditional Crimson Heads in Raccoon City, since there might be some zombie bodies that mutated over time, turning them into super zombies. If you wanted to go even farther with it, you could potentially see the return of boss enemies as well. Sure, William Birkin, G. Birkin, is probably unlikely since he exploded in the Umbrella Lab, but monsters like Nemesis and other offspring of Birkin could potentially survive since they were all underground when Raccoon City was destroyed. Even if Nemesis was one giant blob of a mess, just blood and guts all over the place. He regenerates, for crying out loud. I wouldn't put it past him. Anyways, clearly there's a reason why the government decided to keep Raccoon City in lockdown and continue research there, and maybe the reason for this is because they have a bunch of free test subjects infected with the T-virus to test on them. That's why it's a perfect testing location for Elpis and potentially this remedy to cure all viruses. Probably the most wild one that came to me after watching the showcase last week is that maybe, just maybe, Grace Ashcroft is a clone of Sherry Birkin. Yeah, I know, pretty crazy, right? Well, we go back to the theory that Grace is not only a test tube baby, but a clone, then a new question presents itself. Who is Grace a clone of? Now, some fans out there, including Death Gollum, seem to think that Grace might be a clone of Alyssa Ashcroft. However, I can't see why a clone of Alyssa Ashcroft bonds better with Elpis than Alyssa herself. Otherwise, why wouldn't they just kidnap Alyssa instead of Grace ever in with the tail? Instead, I think Grace has to be a clone of a different individual that is enhanced by some other virus or parasite that ultimately gave her unique abilities to counter any infection that she came across. Well, there's two people that come to mind that share that description to me, and one of them we've kind of already seen in the trailers already. Sort of. I give you Sherry Birkin. Going back to the trailers, the Leon reveal gave us this image, showing us someone that looks vaguely familiar to Sherry from Resident Evil 6. Her voice, when talking to Leon, even sounds like Sherry. And go back to RE6, we see that the G-Virus has given Sherry unique abilities over time, allowing her to almost instantly heal from fatal injuries. An ability how they could resist any sort of virus and parasite in the Resident Evil universe, which we can assume is exactly what Gideon is trying to create, right? Not to mention, the government probably already has a ton of blood samples of Sherry Birkin from when she was used in like a bunch of like experiments or labs where they were doing a bunch of testing on her. Because Sherry Birkin did mention that she was being tested on in Resident Evil 6 when she was younger. Now, we go with this assumption and the assumption that Gideon is looking to create something that can resist any kind of virus or parasite. World, then technically speaking, Sherry Birkin should be the perfect person to create clones with, using her blood to then use as test subjects for Elpis. Grace could have been one of those clones, and out of subjects, she was the only one to resist Elpis without transforming into a monster. I know, kind of a stretch, like always, but think about it. This would explain why Leon is talking directly to Sherry versus Hunnigan, because she's more directly connected to the case. It actually explains a lot of the questions we still have about Requiem, even if it seems a bit far-fetched. But that does it for this episode.